of the request.
Okay.
I was asking to record, just ignore me.
Thank you, Kelly.
Thank you.
We actually had somebody reach out this morning asking if we would
Specifically
from
to
Germany.
record.
So thank you.
So anyway, we're going to be talking about the 19-1 flow out of Adele's book. If you've got the new book, we're going to be looking at pages 42 and 43. And I'm sorry, in the old book, that's pages 42 and 43. And in the new book, roughly, I think it's
page 45, 46, and 47.
Yes, thank you. So without further ado, we'll start off with the quote from Mary on page 1 of her book.
Page 1.
In honor of the 1 portion of the 19-1 flow. We've got this beautiful picture of Mary. And she says, the truth is that within each one of us lies the power to cast all misery aside and know complete peace and oneness, to be that beautiful creation of perfect harmony, to truly know and help myself. And isn't that what this is all about? So let's see here. I think, Tait, would you mind sharing the chart for the 19?
Okay. So give me 1 second here. Okay.
So you'll be able to see on this chart this is all of the safety energy locks, and basically when we're working on ourselves for self-help, as well as sharing a session either with our 2-legged, 4-legged friends, however many legs they might have, wings, etc. We can look at the baby math. And so for the 19 and 1, 9 plus 1 is 10. And ultimately, that's a 1 again. So we can see that for the 1.
Sorry to interrupt you.
Okay.
Adele has a question.
Uh-oh.
It's in Spanish.
Yes, it's in Spanish.
Well,
didn't you all know this was also a Spanish class?
Thanks, Adele, for pointing that out. We have another version we can pull up here real quick. Really minor details, really. Okay.
All right.
I had the English one up previously. It was a little blurry. And Amy said, it's a little blurry. I said, oh, it's okay. I have another one I can pull up.
And you pulled up the Spanish one and we didn't even notice.
Give me a second while I figure out this technology.
So the 1 is all about being our prime mover. And as such, it's good for any kind of movement, you know, whether you're talking about physically moving or mentally moving your thoughts, physically moving your body, your bowels, your limbs, any kind of movement, your emotions. If you're kind of stuck in one way of being or another, you can come to the 1 to move yourself forward and get out of whatever it is you're stuck in. If somebody is choking, as many of us have seen or experienced, you know, hold the 1s and do your best to breathe through it. Or if you're supporting someone else who is choking, you know, hold the 1s and bring in that movement. And since 1 plus 0 is also 1, we're going to talk about the 10s. And the safety energy lock 10 is all about our life force, and it's the inhale. And as such, it is abundance and the outpouring of limitless life power. And Tait, if you want to spin around here, the 10s are a little difficult to reach by yourself, but ultimately we're right here on the shoulder blades. between the top of the shoulder blade and the bottom of the shoulder blade, pretty much right in the center.
And remember, these safety energy locks are the size of our fist, a three-dimensional sphere, so we don't need to get hung up on exact placement.
Mhm. Yeah, as Jude says, you're looking for that sweet spot in the center of the tennis racket, but ultimately anywhere on the face is going to help connect you with that energy from that safety energy lock. So safety energy lock 19 is also looking at leadership and authority. And safety energy lock 19, oh gosh.
No, I showed them one.
Safety energy lock 19 is here at the elbows. And for this particular flow, we're doing the opposite one and 19. So you can see it's pretty comfortable when you're just sitting. Doesn't look unusual like some of the other hand placements could look. Tait is volunteering some options of that unusual safety energy lock hold. So safety energy lock hold, and of course I invite you to hold on to those ones in the 19s and close your eyes and just be with that sensation while I talk through a little bit more about the 19.
And perhaps even offering the idea of, doing the flow as it's written, the 19-1, but then playing around with the substitutions. We could do both hands on the opposite ones. We could do both hands on the opposite 19s. If you're a yogini, and you feel like you can stretch back there to the 10s,
Reach
and
all the way back to the
and
10s.
that's comfortable for you, you can play around with that. That one is much more helpful with the animal work. Okay.
So the 19s are typically pretty helpful with animals because, as Adele has mentioned in her classes, oftentimes this sense of leadership and authority, self-autonomy can get a little convoluted for animals, I think, as far as our roles are concerned and our relationships with these beings are concerned. And so when we're looking to balance out that energy of self-authority, we can come to the 19s. And if we want to give it an extra boost, a little warp speed, if you will, then we can connect it with the 1 and do the 19-1 flow. 19s are also looking at perfect balance and physical fitness. It's a quicker for the mediator, and something that I almost always think about with our 19s is the support that it gives to relieve us of parasites. So a lot of times when we think of parasites, we think of, in the animal world anyway, we think of worms or ticks or fleas or some kind of little creature that has decided to make a home with our animal friends. But I also think that it's important to remember that this is a holistic approach to wellness. And so we're looking at body, mind, and spirit. And as such, we can also think about energetic parasites. Is there a person or a being that comes into the space and basically sucks up all the energy? And I think a lot of us have experienced what that feels like to be in the presence of someone like that. And it can be pretty intense. And then, thinking about animals who tend to be super sensitive to energy. And when they're around a person like that or another being like that, whether it's an overbearing mare in the fold or it's another dog at the dog park or whatever, that energetic parasite attitude, or I shouldn't say attitude, but that energetic parasite experience can really knock you off your center. And as such, if you have the foresight and you know that you're going to be in a situation where you're going to be encountering something like that, you can prepare for it and come to the 19s. And again, give it an extra boost with the 1. So do the 19-1 flow. Or if you're in the middle of that experience, grab those 19s and the 1s and just breathe and be with it and let that storm pass. And likewise, afterwards, you have an experience and you can just feel it. You feel drained, or your animal companion, you can just tell that they are just drained by whatever the experience was. Support them moving through that, support moving through it yourself, and grab onto those 19 and 1s and get rid of those extra friends that were uninvited. We can also go to the 19s for digestion and general well-being. Anytime there are backaches, any chest projects, and congestion, basically harmonizes left and right sides of the body. So these are really profoundly simple ways to work with a whole bunch of stuff.
Yeah, that being said, let's look again, or look real quick at the flow. Oh, that's the wrong one. Hang with me here, because this is just a one-step flow connecting with 2 safety energy locks. But we'll see in Adele's text that this flow is actually helping to balance and harmonize 7 different safety energy locks.
We've got the 1, the 10, the 14, the 19, the 20, the 21, and the 22. And you can find all of that again in the old book. It'll be page 42, and in the new book, it's page 46 and 47.
Okay.
And a lot of you might say, well, how does it do that? How does it all connect, and how does it all come together, and why is it helping all of these things and not just the 19 and the 1? And Tait?
Well, to be quite honest, I don't know. but even better is that it doesn't matter that I don't know.
Yeah, we don't need to know.
We don't need to know why something is helping us to find balance. We just need to be open to the experience. I liken it to cutting myself. If I get a cut on my skin, thank goodness I don't need to know how my skin is putting itself back together. It just does it. You give it the space, you give it the time that it needs, and the skin puts itself back together without me knowing what's going on in there and how it's happening. So give yourself that space and that grace, and be okay with not knowing. Just knowing that it's going to help. Okay. Wow, time flies when you're having fun.
Yeah.
We invite you all to continue with this self-help, exploring the 3 different options that we've put out there for the 19-1 flow. And we are going to shift gears into the animal demo portion and bring in our lovely polar bear, Shakira Mahina. She is our beautiful white German Shepherd rescue dog who is twitching in her sleep as we speak. But before we introduce you to Mahina, we're going to flip to page 19 of what Mary says. And there's a great quote in here that is quite relevant to our experience working with Mahina in Jin Shinjitsu. And I'm just taking an excerpt from this quote. Mary says, "Control is my attempt to make the world align with my desires. To go beyond that control is to align myself with the universe. I think you'll see very shortly how that pertains to our experience with our little polar bear there.
And you'll also see why we call her our little polar bear.
And just real quickly, for those who came in just a little late, if you are interested in receiving information from JSJ animal faculty members only regarding upcoming events that we all have, please put your name, your email address, and where you're from in the chat. And we'll copy that and put you on our list. And we promise we will not harass you with junk mail. Okay, one more slide before we introduce Mahina. Just want to show you here the placements on the dog of the 19 and the 1. So you'll see the 19 there at the front leg, just below the torso. That joint that you can feel is the elbow of the dog, and then the knee there on the other side. And we'll show you also Mahina, just so you have an idea.
And it's good to remember that the 1 is the part of the dog's leg that is moving forward. If you look at the shape of the leg, a lot of times folks can get a little turned around, and sometimes maybe thinking that the ankle is actually what you're looking for the knee. But that part actually pushes backward, and you can see on the shape of the leg that the knee pushes forward, and it's a little higher on the leg. So that's what we'll be focusing on with Mahina.
Okay.
And what you will also notice is that she has a relatively large lipoma on her, well, it's actually her 8,
which is the back of the knee, the outside of the knee.
And so she can be a little sensitive about us getting in there. So we'll see how she's feeling today.
Just to clarify, she's a little sensitive with us getting anywhere. Which is where the quote that we chose from Mary comes into play.
Yeah.
And we just feel like it's a great teaching point, especially with the animal work, because
you do the best you can.
Animals don't sign up for sessions.
Yeah.
And so we need to be careful about not pushing ourselves on them. But there are ways that we can work with them without forcing ourselves on them. And we'll talk about that during the animal demo. So bear with us here. We're going to shift
turn around a little so that we can jump in here with our little polar bear.
This is Shakira Mahina. She came to us with the name Shakira from the animal rescue that Amy and I lived at in Eugene, Oregon. And if you all are familiar with the rock star Shakira, we thought, well, Shakira needs 2 names. And so
since we were moving to Hawaii, we decided to give her her Hawaiian name, which is Mahina, and that is Hawaiian for moon or
moon.
Luminescent, if you want to get technical about it. All right, so the 19s and the 1s.
Okay. So the 19, as we discussed, is right here on the elbow. Okay. And she's already suspicious. And once we get that other, now it's really difficult, you'll see, and she's usually lying down. About 90% of her life, she's lying down.
She loves her bed.
And so we're not going to reach that opposite 1 without inconveniencing her. So we use our baby math, the chart that we looked at there. We have 2 different options aside from the 1. We can work with her other 19 on the other side. Or for me, what makes the most sense right now is to work with the 19 and the 10. It's going to be the most comfortable. Now the flow is written opposite 19. So I would normally want to put my right hand on her left 19. Okay.
But that's going to freak her out.
That's going to be the most efficient way to work with the flow. But again, we don't want to get caught up too much on the details. Really, the only way we can do it wrong, as Mary says, is by not doing anything at all. So most comfortable for all of us right now will be for me to put my right hand on her right 19. Yep, and here we go. And my left hand right between her shoulder blades. Her safety energy locks are the size of this big guy right here. Okay, so if I just place my left hand right on her back, just at the base of her neck, a little lower, then I know I'm connecting with her 10, as well as her 3, which is just above the 10, as well as the 9, which is just below the 10. And this is our typical flow with Mahina. If we're not just giving her love up here, she loves it when we rub her 21s. But when we start to put 2 hands on her, she knows that we're up to something. I did a little practice earlier today, and literally within 2 seconds of me she's doing great right now.
And I think that's because
getting
I'm
support from Amy.
Yeah.
But literally within 2 seconds of me placing both of my hands on her, she got up like this.
Just like this.
And she
she's done.
walked away. So quite discouraging for a practitioner, right? Okay, how am I supposed to work with my dog if she won't let me touch her? I think you want to invite her back to the bed. So
I did, but she just walked through.
Okay.
Come here, Mama.
So I think we've all been in a situation where we've been in a space, maybe we're home, waiting for our partner to get home or a loved one. And when they get home, they don't have to say anything. Immediately, we feel their energy. If they had a bad day, if they had a bad experience during their day and they came home and they're feeling that, they don't have to tell us with words. We just know. And that is subtle energy. It's all around us. And so the huge benefit of that is that I don't have to touch Mahina for her to benefit from this work. And what Amy and I have begun doing with our practice with Mahina is we will sit in her space with her nice and comfortable, and we will apply the flow to ourselves. And we'll settle in and just be with her and breathe, because we know, because she is in our space, that she's feeling our subtle energy. Okay. Anytime you're practicing Jin Shin Jitsu, whether it's on yourself or you're giving a session to another being, anybody else who's in that vicinity is going to benefit from that harmonizing of the subtle energy. Okay. So we want to respect the fact that she's uncomfortable with us
Being so close in her
being
energy.
too close. Now she's come such a long way. When she first came to us, if we would just sit down beside her, she would get up and walk away.
Yeah.
Now we can give her kisses without getting headbutts and bloody noses. And we're grateful for that. And we'll take what we can get.
Yeah.
So to date, we're about close to we're about
Almost 2
year
years,
and a year and a half, year and 3/4 into our relationship with Mahina. And you know, it's a gradual growing process.
There are big steps forward, and then there are some steps in different directions.
So I don't know if everyone can see, but as we're sitting here, we're just holding on to our 19s and our 1s and hanging out with Mama Bear. I don't know if anybody caught the posts that we put up, but she has a lot of nicknames. Cucamonga,
Giblets.
Turkey Giblets. She's the janitor because when she drinks her water, she drools it all over the house. So she lets us know when it's time to mop the floor. There's a whole barrage of names that she's acquired over the almost last 2 years.
But going back to what Tate was saying about feeling the energy, I believe that is sympathetic resonance. And basically what that's saying is that the vibrations that are in harmony are the ones that are sort of leading the parade. So if you think about an orchestra and everybody is tuning their instruments in the beginning of the symphony and getting ready, eventually you come to a point where the conductor stands up front and brings in the first violin, the first chair, and that is the tune that everybody else meets. And so that's basically what we're working with here is setting that resonance so that anyone else that's in the space or even distance work, it's the same thing. If the intention is there, then the frequencies want to align with that balance.
So another option we have with working with an animal that is not so comfortable with touch, and to be fair with Mahina, it's usually when the second hand lays on the body that she's, what's going on? What are you doing? I'm out of here, right? So I'm able to sit here and lightly, I don't want to say massage, kind of pet, and that's definitely another in with animals. If you can kind of start out petting over their safety energy lock that you want to connect with, and maybe eventually they will become comfortable enough where you can just let that hand rest. So I have one of my hands on her one, and I have my other hand on my one. So right now I have my right hand on her left one, so that's her opposite one. And I have my left hand on my right one, which is a substitute for the opposite 19. So and look at that, we have smiles. Here we are practicing the 19-1. She's not running away from us. We even have some smiles.
Her eyes are getting nice and soft.
And this is animals in general, horses very much so, dogs also are very, very sensitive to subtle energy, so much more than the mental people that we are. Our mind so often gets in the way. And the ones particularly we find to be super sensitive areas for animals. Even if an animal is okay and comfortable with you touching that area, 9 times out of 10, they're going to be sniffing that hand and trying to figure out what's going on there.
Yeah, they can feel things moving, which makes sense. That one is the prime mover.
The prime mover. Wow, we've already been here 30 minutes. We've touched on, I think, generally the gist of this 19-1 flow, where it's really one of those all-inclusive flows that helps so much in the body. And so we invite you all to work with your loved ones, whether they're people or whether they're animals. And now we'll go ahead and open it up to any questions or comments or stories anybody wants to share.
Yeah, if you've got something to say, go ahead and unmute yourself first.
Oh,
and then,
too much.
And then let us know if maybe we can answer a question that you've got. I see that Sherry's got her hand up. Go ahead, Sherry.
I just wanted to say with the collective, when they don't want you to touch them, I've been working in a barn with 4 horses lately. And there's one who has some issues, and she is one of those temperamental mares. And I've been completely bypassing her and working on the other 3. And she's been doing a lot of releasing. Well, last night, she actually let me work on her for over 20 minutes. So it was
Wow.
Yeah, it was so incredible. So yeah, I just have to say that it actually does, as long as you hold that space, it's miraculous.
Completely. Yeah. And really, what are we doing? We're building trust. And
Exactly.
a lot of times, especially with animals that we see in the rescue world, that trust has been, it's been compromised. So it's super important that not only do we focus on supporting them, but we also need to respect that they've already been, they don't need any more of that.
And she was kicked in the face, so she actually had a broken nose. So she was very, she didn't want you in her space. So I was so thankful and so overjoyed last night when she let me, and she received it. And when she was done, she let me know. But it was like, I was like, oh, it was, so amazing.
Super moving, isn't it? It's wonderful. Thank you so much for sharing that. That's great.
Thank you.
Yeah, we did a lot of work in Oregon at a farm animal sanctuary, a small one. They had a handful of horses, a donkey, a couple of pigs. All of the horses, to some degree, would receive the work. Some much more so than others. The donkey, Wilbur, and they made a shirt that says "Kiss my Wilbur." The first time I met him with the owner of the rescue, and she had a bag full of carrots, and he was all about the work, as long as there were carrots. Every other time we went to the rescue, every other time, he kept his distance. Close distance.
Yeah, he was interested, but as soon as you would reach out, he's out of there.
Mm-hmm. But as you said, and as we mentioned, if we're able to work on ourselves, work on some of the other horses there, then everybody's benefiting, regardless of who's being physically touched, right?
Yeah, energy knows no bounds. We are all stardust, members of the cosmos.
Anybody else have any questions or anything to share? Lynn, do you want to unmute yourself? Yeah.
Thank you very much. You shared a couple of things that were very profound for me. I have a kitty. She doesn't mind me touching her as long as I'm sort of petting her. But when I stop and just hold, she wants none of it.
Right.
And the other thing you shared, putting one hand in the place and then the other hand on myself, that's profound, because she will let me touch one place, but not always wanting both hands on her.
Right.
Yeah. And I wonder if you could share that page number of the second quote that you read from What Mary Says.
Page 19.
19. Oh, of course. Thank you.
And it's about halfway down. It starts off with something about anger.
Yes. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Appreciate your kind teaching.
Thank you.
Thank you,
We
Lynn.
appreciate you being here with us.
And Kelly, I see that Bodhi is there, and he is just being the quintessential Jinshin Jitsu demo dog. Would you like to share your experience with Bodhi with everybody?
Yes, we practiced while you all were talking with the 19 and 1, and I thought he might lay down, but he actually stood and let me hold the 19 in the same side one, and the 19 in the opposite one, and the 19 in the 10. And he did have a moment where he just like, okay, I'm done. Like he just walked away, like, okay. And then a few minutes later, he'll come back in and say, I want some more.
Right? Yeah, mosey back in. And was he like that from the beginning?
No. Bodhi was also a rescue. And, I have a cat. She's here on the floor, and she likes to stay just out of the picture. And for many years, my story with her was much like Lynn's, that you just couldn't touch her, or she knew the difference the moment you would switch to Jinshin Jitsu.
Yeah.
And you know, remarkably though, it's different now, and she will allow some. And she also works on me.
Yeah.
I had COVID a few months ago, and I was giving myself the liver flow, the 4 and the 22, and I went to move to the 14, and she came and stood on my chest and helped continue to hold the 22. So it's amazing just to kind of be open to whatever they're willing to share.
Yeah, and to recognize that there is some really profound wisdom there, you know, and I think a lot of times people think, oh, it's just coincidence that they happen to be sitting there, you know, whatever the story might be. And for me, I don't really subscribe to coincidences. I think that they know what they're doing and they feel the energy, and maybe they can even see it. I don't know, but it's interesting when they do things like that, you know, they'll put their little paw on you.
Or maybe they don't even know what they're doing, but it's just that they feel the energy and they want to connect.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's very cool. We had a session with my mother a bunch of years back, and her little Bichon puppy dog was in the room with us. And about halfway through the session, he ended up with his paws on her I think it was her 15s, which was, you know, right through the center of the flow. It was great. Yeah.
Well,
Cool.
if you
Adele
don't
has
have any-
her hand raised.
What was that?
Adele has her hand raised.
Oh, Adele.
Thank you, Kevin.
Hey, loves. I just wanted to add that if I just find their teaching, I get swept up. It's a little bit like a trance. And if you are in love with them and all they're saying, I want to encourage you to go look on YouTube on the Harmonize to Energize that Terry Matthews does, because I think you have 2 different times with them, don't you?
Yeah.
And they're just wonderful. And part of it again is human, and part of it, Tait had some videos from working with horses. So just to encourage you, if you want more, go searching.
Thanks,
Or-
Adele.
Or come see us in Hawaii if you need a little tropical flavor.
I'm planning it.
All right. Well, thanks everybody for coming. We definitely appreciate it. Oh, I see Lynn's got her hand up. What's up, Lynn?
I just wanted to share something that happened in Louisville. I especially wanted to learn to work with cats. And at the farm rescue, I was able to work with a cat. And I started out with the 13 and 10. And when Kitty was ready, she literally moved her body to where it was underneath my hand. Obviously, that's where she needed the energy. And then she would move again to another place. And she ended up on her back with my hands on her 15s. And it was, I was elated to be able to experience that. Thank you.
And what a showing of not just comfort but trust for a cat to expose their belly to you like that. And having just met the cat as well, that's
Right.
I think that says quite a bit.
Let's be friends.
You know, we're not talking about a pit bull here who's just going to open up its groin. And you know, cats are much more protective of that area. So very cool.
Yeah.
Nice. Well, this was fun.
Yeah, this is great. Thanks everybody for joining us. It was a good experience for us. You know, sometimes technology is not always on board with our plans, so we got to work a little bit with the sharing the screen thing.
Languages can get in the way sometimes.
You
We
know.
do offer classes in Spanish. So that is why that's snuck in there.
So if you or anyone you know would like to take a Jinshin Jitsu for Animals class in Spanish.
Ahí nos avisan y le vamos a hacer. But before we let you go, just a gentle reminder from Mary. only way you can do it wrong is by not doing anything at all. So get out there, touch yourself first, touch your animals second, and breathe.
Yeah, and thank you to Mary and Jiro and Adele for getting all of this out to everyone and helping to make everyone's lives hopefully just a little bit better. We appreciate it. We appreciate all of you.
And look out for those classes coming up, hopefully sooner than later. We're getting past this COVID cloud and people are starting to get out and about again, loosen up. So,
Yep, keep your eyes on Adele's website and she'll have all that stuff posted.
all right. We're going to go ahead and close it out, everybody.
Much love.
Love you guys.
Bye.
Take care.
Take care.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye. Take care, you guys.